The chances are I'm going to die. Yeah, but you don't, do you? So why do you keep saying that? Hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and we are doing another Battle of the Booktuber vlog. I am so excited. This is the last one. For those of you that haven't watched the previous 3 Battle of the Booktubers, it's being hosted by Danny. I will have her channel linked below. She invited a lot of us together to see who can give the best book recommendations, and it's been so much fun. So what we had to do is give each other a couple of videos that kind of show the sort of things that we like to read, and then from there we had to put together a list of 4 book order of what we think they're going to like the most. We then have to rate the books because we get points accrued to the rating of the book. This is going to be really good. At this point in time, we haven't seen each other's videos. We don't know what's going on. We don't know in terms of who's doing the best so far. We don't even know who's recommended us the books. We just have the 4 lists and it was assigned to a letter, and we have to try and guess who we think has chosen these books for us. So in this vlog, the 2 books I'm going to be reading are Traitor's Blade and One Dark Window. I personally think that this was done by Booktuber G. So this was put to me by Booktuber G, but I think that is Rainy. Again, I'll have everyone's channels linked below, but I don't know why, but I just feel like this is potentially Rainy's pick. I feel like it could have also been Josie. I'm kind of between the 2, but I did end up putting Josie to a different collection of books, so I'm gonna stick with Rainy. Not sure why, just getting the vibe. But these 2 books are 2 fantasy books. Traitor's Blade is a bit more your usual fantasy. We're following a group of, I think they were bodyguards, who have been accused of some form of betrayal that are now going to have to try and clear their names, but in doing so discover lots of different politics and things going against the king. I think I could be wrong. I am paraphrasing off a synopsis I have read once. Kind of like your more standard fantasy, I feel like saying. It is a book I have heard of before. I've heard other people talking about it. It's not one that I would say is really popular, but it is definitely spoken about every so often. And then the other one is One Dark Window, which is by Rachel Gillick. I should have said that Traitor's Blade is by Sebastian de Castell. So One Dark Window is actually a fantasy romance that I have had 0 interest in reading. I'm not gonna lie. I've just heard conflicting things about it. Some people say it's really, really good, and then some people say it's not. What I do know is that it is about kind of tarot cards in a way. We have this main character who has a nightmare in her, which she can't let anybody know because nobody's allowed magic, but she has this nightmare inside of her. She is able to sense these different cards. Things go from there. I really don't know too much about it. I know some people have really enjoyed this and really enjoyed how it's just such an easy read, and that is always good, but I don't know, I just haven't had the urge to read this one. These are 2 books actually that I've heard of but just had no incentive to read, but I guess that's now going to change. So I am a little bit apprehensive though. So I am reading both of these on Kindle. They're not ones I own physically. I couldn't find copies at the library or on the Libby app, so I've bought these on Kindle, and I am a little bit apprehensive. One, because I'm in a bit of a fantasy reading slump, which is such a shame. It's come at such the wrong time for me to be in a fantasy reading slump, especially when I have to read these 2 books this month because I need all these videos done and edited by the 1st of July. So I have to get these ones read. It's not even like a case of, oh, I can move it to another month, because I can't. I saved these ones for last and now I'm in a fantasy slump. So I'm gonna try not let that affect my rating in any way. But also just in general, these are 2 fantasy books that I've known about but just never felt compelled to read. Hopefully I will be pleasantly surprised and I will enjoy them a lot more than what I think I'm going to. I think they're not going to be bad reads. I don't think I'm gonna like dislike them in any way. I just think they're going to be average reads for me. I'm trying not to put any of my preconceptions and the fact that I'm in a fantasy reading slump into the books and just go in with an open mind. And the good thing about it is because I don't tend to rate books, I've been using Corpile to get my star ratings, and the way Corpile does it is it's not just based on your feelings. It does have that as one of the categories, but it also has assessing things like the characters, the atmosphere, the writing, and that all links to it. So it will probably end up coming out stronger than what I'm feeling, hopefully. But yeah, so that is the start of this video. I'm looking forward to it. You'll have to let me know, have you read either of these two books? What did you think of them? Did you enjoy them? And I guess we're going to find out if I like them. I'm not starting them just yet. I think I'm going to start with One Dark Window. Thinking to start this one, like read it while I'm at work, which will be in a couple days time. So I'll pop back in when I've actually read some of it and give you my first impressions. Fingers crossed I'm going to enjoy it. Yeah, I think that's everything for this little intro bit. I say little, it's never a little intro because I waffle on so much, but I've really been enjoying this. This is the last video of the Battle of the Booktuber videos. I've really been enjoying it. It's been so much fun, but yes, I do need to get on and do other things though, so I'm going to get on and do that. I'll update you when I've started One Dark Window and we'll go from there, which I've already said, so we'll probably edit that out. Good morning. So it's been a little while since I started this video and I have been, well, making some progress in book. We've got good and bad news is basically what I'm saying. So we'll start off with the good news, okay? So we started yesterday The Traitor's Blade by Sebastian D. Castell and we haven't got far into it. We're up to page 39, Caravan Market. Chapters are pretty short and I'm enjoying this more than what I thought. Actually, I was a bit nervous. Pretty sure I said that at the start of this video anyway, that I was nervous for both of these picks, to be fair, because they're both books that I have heard of, never really interested me in picking up. This one is surprising me because I am enjoying it more than what I thought I would, which is great. This one we're following three greatcoats who basically they were kind of like bodyguards for the king. However, the king has been killed as a traitor. Greatcoats are seen as these tatter cloaks who are they're just seen as like the lowest of the low, the worst. They must be thieves, they must be like they are considered horrible, but actually they still have their honor. And we've just met them where they are being bodyguards to this duke. He dies and they get framed for the murder, and so now they're on the run yet again. And we're following this one character who is telling the story, but he does reflect back on like little things about his childhood and stuff, so it's interesting. I'm enjoying this more than what I thought. It's also quite funny, the writing style. I actually am getting on with it a lot more. I think this has potential to keep me hooked enough that I want to read the next book. Whether it's one that I'm like, actually I would just stick with reading them on Kindle or getting them from my library, I don't know, but I'm enjoying it enough, and thank God for that, because I'm really struggling with One Dark Window. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really struggling with it. That's the book I started off with because I thought, you know what, fantasy romance, in a bit of a fantasy slump. I will say that I'm feeling fantasy again. Like, I'm not feeling too slumpy towards it. I do think part of that is because I'm also currently reading The Tainted Cup, which is a fantasy mystery, and I am adoring it. So it's got me back into the, oh, okay, cool, we're ready for this. Still don't think I want to read loads of fantasy in July either, but it's fine. It's got me back into it enough that I'm happy to read it as the ebook, but One Dark Window I'm struggling with. So I did start it when I was getting my nails done. I'm not enjoying it. Where am I up to? So I'm up to chapter 9, page 89. I'm in the middle of a chapter and there's nothing wrong with this book, but it is reading like such a generic YA fantasy romance, and I don't even know if it's meant to be young adult. Like, I actually don't know the age range, but it is reading like it's young adult, and it just reminds me of things like Belladonna, which I did not enjoy for the same reason, really, because it's just so generic. Like, it's not done well enough to have my intrigue. So in this one, we're following our main character who can see these Providence cards, and Providence cards can give you magic abilities. It's set to whatever the card is. It comes with a consequence that if you use it too much, something bad will happen. And the current king is trying to gather all of the Providence cards together to beat back this spirit of the woods, except of course nobody actually wants to give up the power and stuff, so it's this whole dynamic. And we have our main character, and she actually has magic, and you're not allowed actual magic in this world if it's outside of the Providence card. People get killed for having it, which I don't really understand what the freaking difference is. I guess it's just another way of trying to control people. Anyway, she's been hiding it for her whole life to be like, I don't have magic and stuff, hiding it away from everybody. She actually has this like nightmare monster thing in her head, and she has to pretend and be like, no, I've got no magic, and she can see the colours of the Providence cards, so she knows when they're close. However, she gets kind of like ambushed by this guy who ends up being a prince. He then realises, hey, you've got magic, because he sees her veins. So like her dress rips on her arm, so he can see her veins in her arm, which are black, which is a sign of, oh, you've got magic. Only show up black if she's used or like got her nightmare in her head to use their powers. So he's like, right, you're coming with me. And she's like, oh, fine, but not through the gardens, because I'm tired of seeing the Providence cards. Something that you have worked your whole life to not talk about, and you let slip within the first 5 minutes of seeing this guy. What? So he's like, excuse me, what now? So then he like takes her to this place to like test her on her magical abilities and all of this stuff. And she's like, I don't trust you because you work for the people that put people like me in dungeons and stuff. And it's just this whole, it's just so predictable. You know where it's going to go. The magic system is just, there's nothing wrong in not having a complex magic system, but it's also so mundane. I don't know. So I do like a good fantasy romance. Don't get me wrong, I think they can be a lot of fun and really entertaining, but there's something about this type. So Belladonna, Kerry Maniscalco's book, not the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, love that series, but the other series that they did, Lord knows if I remember what it's called. I read the first one, really enjoyed it, where you have these two sisters, one dies, one is like, I'm going to find out what's going on. Then the next book just did a whole 180 on what it was, and it was so different, and it reminds me again of that second book. So I think if you like those sort of things, this would be a good book for you. I don't like these sort of things. I like Sarah J Maas, which is probably why this one was recommended to me, but I like Sarah J Maas because of the nostalgia, not because they're good books. So I like it because I grew up reading it. I don't like reading much of it in loads of other books. Like, I do like some, like I like the Cruel Prince trilogy. Really like that, but I think because there's more to it, whereas this, I think it's a mixture of a writing style I don't like, because it does just remind me of Belladonna, and so I'm really trying to push myself to get through this book, so I'm considering DNFing, because I'm just not enjoying it. I don't have any interest to read it, I think is the problem. I think a lot of people will really like this book, but it's just not for me. But I feel bad saying that because I'm reading it for the Battle of the Booktuber, and I do feel bad saying that. And this is the book, the one book a couple of people recommended. So in the Battle of the Booktubers, we had to give out a list of 4 books, and this was the first book out of all of them, out of all the recommendations we did for each other, I was the only one that got a duplicate, and this was the book that was duplicated. And I'm really like, what videos did I give to make people think I would like this? I don't know. I genuinely think it just stems from Sarah J Maas, which is fine. And there are some books that are like, oh, this is like Sarah J Maas, read this if you like it, like Trial of the Sun Queen, loving that. This just reminds me of Belladonna, and I don't like it, as I've said many times, and I feel bad about it, but this was always the vlog that was worrying me the most, because there were 2 books that were like zero interest in reading. Thankfully, we do have good news with The Traitor's Blade, because I am actually enjoying that one. I like the characters. I think it's really fun. I'm interested to know more about the world. There is magic there as well, but it's not been like really explored. I just think the banter they have between their characters and stuff is really good. I'm enjoying all of that. I think One Dark Window, I'm going to try read it more. I am going to try, but I'm not loving it. And I feel so bad, but I'm not loving it. So yeah, I feel like this was a bit of a meh update because I'm not enjoying this book. I don't really want to DNF. It would be the first official DNF of the Battle of the Booktuber, but the second book, if I end up not DNFing it, that I've considered DNFing, because in the first video I did for this, I was reading a book that I had really high hopes for, but didn't work because I really didn't like the formatting of the book. And in the end, I ended up just skim reading the last bit of the book. But I'm trying to be nice, but I'm really harsh with my DNFs. Like I am. But I'm going to try. We're going to try. Because it's been recommended to me, and it was recommended to me twice. So I really want to give this one a try, and I feel really bad, and I'm really sorry. But thank you for The Traitor's Blade, because that one I really would never have picked up if it wasn't for this video. It's been a lot better than what I think. So I'm looking forward to getting back into that, and that's the one I'm going to focus on. And then I think once I finish that book, if I'm still just like, I've got zero interest to pick up One Dark Window, then I am just going to DNF it. rather than pushing myself through it knowing I'm not going to like it. We will continue reading Traitor's Blade because I'm liking that one. I'm really intrigued. I think it's got good potential for me to enjoy that one. I don't think it's going to be a new favourite, but I could be surprised. I'm at work for the next 6 days, so I'm definitely going to be reading that one during my lunch breaks. I'm going to be taking it on my Kindle and just enjoying it, really. That is the plan. So hopefully I'm going to come back. Probably I'll update you about the halfway mark on how I'm getting on with it and what I'm thinking. I feel really bad, but you can't help what you like and what you don't like. So yeah. Second time I'm trying to film this update because I feel really bad. Like, I feel really bad, and I feel like we're just going to get into it. I'm just going to start off with the worst bit first, which is I have decided to DNF One Dark Window. I am not enjoying this book. I've tried going back into it a couple of times and I just have no want to read this book. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's a tropey, predictable, I'm gonna say young adult, I don't know if it is young adult, but it feels like young adult to me, fantasy romance. And while yes, I do enjoy some young adult fantasy romance, like I won't lie, I've already mentioned Sarah J. Maas, Holly Black, even Stephanie Garber. Those authors are all authors I have read from many years ago, like from when their first books were coming out and stuff, so I have that nostalgia with them. Other young adult books that I have enjoyed that do have that bit of romance to it, they just do something different with it, such as Only a Monster does something different. Like, this one was really surprising and it looks at things in such a different way, whereas One Dark Window is your generic fantasy romance, even just generic YA fantasy really, where we have this girl that is not like other girls and she's got to work with this guy who she doesn't trust, but somehow manages to tell him her deepest, darkest secret within the first few moments of meeting one another. It's too predictable for me, and it's not one that I want to carry on reading. Like, I don't really enjoy it. Like I said, it reminds me of Belladonna, and I don't like Belladonna. As a result, we're just not getting on with it. Even Starling House by Alex E. Harrow, it reminds me a little bit, not massively. Those are the sort of books I just don't enjoy, and this one is just kind of fitting in with that. It's not doing anything particularly different. I've decided to DNF. And I have got a lot more harsher with my DNFs this year. So with this whole Battle of the Booktuber thing, if I was treating these books how I treat my books normally in my weekly vlog, I would have DNF'd 3 books in this challenge. One from the very first video, which was episode 13, which I then did say, you know, I pushed through to the end. I kind of skim read some parts towards the end because I just wasn't finding it that interesting and stuff. But overall, yeah, not really that interested in it. DNF'd One Dark Window, and honestly, the other book I'm reading for this video, Traitor's Blade, I'm tempted to DNF. The way I see it is, if you're not enjoying a book, and it's something I say to everyone, if you're not enjoying a book, why are you pushing through it? And now I'm pushing through it because of this video, because I really want to give these a good try. They've been recommended to me, so I want to read them and give them a fair try, but I just couldn't push through One Dark Window, so I've DNF'd that one. Like I say, I am tempted to DNF Traitor's Blade as well. It started out with more hope, and I think because I started with One Dark Window, wasn't getting on with it, decided to pick up Traitor's Blade, as you know, and I did enjoy it. Like, that first bit, it was good, it was interesting, I was intrigued by the world, the characters, the way it was written was very sarcastic and stuff, and I could really get on with that. It's a bit of a darker, grittier world. I like that, that's fine. However, I am now halfway through this book. I am on page 173 in the middle of some chapter, and I'm not enjoying it anymore because it's so repetitive that it lost that oh, this is nice and different, and you know, it might not be a new favorite, but it would definitely be one that I can continue on with. This is now just really repetitive and very dry. So we are following our main character, who is a disgraced greatcoat. He ends up working for this caravan, protecting this lady, and they go along the road. They're not very well liked. You see that a lot. You see how the dukes are tearing apart this kingdom, how everything is unfair, how there's no such thing as justice anymore, and you get lots and lots of talk about how bad the world is, how terribly women are treated, even by our main characters. Really, they kind of do objectify women a bit, which I don't really enjoy reading from. It's what happens when you're following male perspectives, I guess, but I've had other male perspectives in books that don't do it like that. Anyway, moving on. But then we also have a fight scene which has to take place every single chapter, and it's the same fight scene. It might as well be the exact same fight scene because it follows the same sequence of events, and I don't feel any stakes because although he might get injured, you're not dying and they're not going to die, and it doesn't feel that high stakes. Like, it feels like, oh my god, this is an impossible task. And they say that all the time. He's like, this is an impossible fight. The chances are I'm going to die. Yeah, but you don't, do you? So why do you keep saying that? And that sounds really horrible, but it's just, I think one or two times, sure, when the odds really are against you, but all the time and for every single fight, like, it loses that sense of, oh my god, dread anticipation for this fight. It loses that because you're saying it all the time. Also, main character has a love of going, mathematically speaking, this is how the fight's going to turn out. Let me break it down for you. And they'll go, right, if we do this option A is this. If we follow this, it's going to have this outcome. Not the best outcome, but it's the option A. Option B, we're going to go through the... And he does it like several times and then eventually goes with one of the things that they've said. Or he's like, oh, wild card, we could do this. And it's like, but then why did you go through all the options? Do I need to know all the options? No. And then other times it's like, I'm going to do this tricky maneuver. And then we'll spend like 2 pages explaining how the maneuver works and the reason why it's so tricky. And you're just like, but do I care? No. I feel kind of bad because if we base it on just like the sarky wit of the character, like, I like that. And there are moments of this book which I like, which is why I'm going to push through. The repetitive fight scenes, I'm just getting bored of. Also, hearing how bad the Duke is and how we should kill off all the Dukes. No, we can't. We are honest greatcoats. We support the law. Like, we do this. It's very repetitive. Again, because of the way I do my DNFs, this is the sort of book where I'd go, okay, I could potentially finish this book. Would I ever reread it? Nope. Would I continue on with the series? Nope. And so that is when I now go, so what's the point of finishing it? Why would I then carry on with this book if I'm not going to reread it and I'm not going to continue on with the series? There's no point finishing this book. I have so many other books to read. Let's move on. But again, like I said, for these videos, I am trying not to DNF the book because otherwise I just feel really horrible and mean, and I am really, really sorry to the person that recommended me these, but it's just not working for me. And as much as I would love to say it's because I am in a bit of a fantasy reading slump, I'm coming out of that, it also doesn't change the fact that, you know, I am coming out of that. I am enjoying fantasy books again, but it's still not a fantasy book I have an interest in. I feel really bad. I do feel really bad. I have to be honest as well, like I can't sit here and go, oh yeah, I'm really enjoying these books when I'm really not. Like, I can't do that. I can definitely say what I like, which is, you know, when it comes to the Traitor's Blade, I do like the sarcasm. Like, I did like the way it was doing like flashbacks and stuff, although even that started to get a bit repetitive where it would start off each chapter with a flashback and I'm just like, okay, do we have to do the same? It's more like Sebastian de Castell had a formula and stuck to that formula for every chapter, and I think that's where it's getting annoying, because if we just scrapped the formula and just wrote out the story, I feel like it would flow a lot better. But having a set formula for each chapter then makes it just feel so repetitive, which I then don't enjoy. Okay, well, I'm gonna push through. I'm gonna finish this. So the next update you'll see from me will be me finishing Traitor's Blade. Man, I feel so bad. And the problem is we all watch each other's videos. Oh, I really don't want to upset anyone for not enjoying the book. Like, I know what it's like. It's so scary giving someone a book recommendation. And, you know, you have that worry of, oh my God, what if they don't enjoy it? And I don't want anyone to feel that way. And now that's exactly what I'm doing. So, yeah. I finished Traitor's Blade and I really didn't enjoy this one. I kind of really... We all know I was struggling. I've said that. I don't need to go back into it. But there were just certain points in this book which I actively disliked. So one, the plotline was really predictable. I've already said because of the fight, the way they were done, it never felt like they had any real stakes to them. There was this one particular scene that I genuinely detested and did make me go, I might just not bother finishing the book. And it was to do with this horse. Now it's a fae horse, which is like this magical horse. Now that's one thing I can say about this book, is it has magic in it, but it's so light, it's really not focused on that much, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, just a thing, part of the book. But we have this fae horse, there are very few of them left, and they are said to be these like incredible horses, really fast, really proud, very faithful, etc, etc. But there is this whole scene where it's described on how this one woman has tortured these animals, and it was vile. It was so vile, and I was just like, why is this in here? And to be honest, could have taken that out and it would have made a difference. And that's the thing that bothers me, is I don't care if a book's dark. Doesn't bother me. I do like dark, gritty worlds. I'm quite happy with that. So like, that doesn't bother me. What I don't like is if it's thrown in just because, rather than having an actual point to it. And it didn't. Apart from the fact that, oh, let's rescue this horse so we can get away. You could have got away in many other ways. Like, it would have been outlandish, but at the same time, this was just a convenience plotline. Therefore, you could have got away on any horse. It didn't need to be one that had been so severely tortured. Like, it was just unnecessary. If you can hear scratching, that is my cat. She's found a cardboard box. But yeah, so it was really unnecessary. I really didn't like it. There was also this point where, again, okay, so it's a sex scene, but it's so badly handled. So we've got our main character, he's saying no, and it was just ignored. And I hate that. Regardless of whether it's a man or woman or whoever it is, saying no, that should be respected. And instead it's like, oh no, it's fine, I know what's good for you. It's like, no means no. Like, and I didn't like that scene either. And again, I get the point of what it was doing. It was like, oh, I feel so healed afterwards, and it was this whole sexual healing thing. And I'm like, okay, still doesn't take away from the fact that you said no. And also just the way women were treated in this book as well. Like, yes, in this instance, it was the man saying no, but in general in the book, the way women were seen and viewed, and just the way they were, was horrible. So yeah, I feel bad because these particular books just have not worked for me, and I feel really bad. I don't want to upset anyone that's recommended me books, but I also can't lie, and I just did not enjoy these. So with that being said, it is time to put it through Call Pile, although I haven't turned on my laptop. We need to give myself a minute to do that. I think overall, am I surprised at any of these? No. I did say at the start of this video how these are books that I just wouldn't have chosen for myself. One Dark Window, I had heard enough about it to know that it probably wasn't going to be my kind of thing. And Traitor's Blade, I've just had zero interest in. So it's one of those things where I'm kind of pleased that I got to read them to see if I was right in thinking that they weren't for me. But also I feel bad that they weren't for me. But anyway, right, this is getting set up. Yeah, you can tell I've done a terrible job of keeping on top of Call Pile again. It's one of those things. I'll do it at the end of the month. Right, Traitors. I'll put in the rest of that later. You can tell I've just not been doing, like, literally even for May, June, like, I just haven't been putting in any of the information, as you can see. Okay, I literally, the only reason why I did it is for the mid-year wrap-up, so I could get a count of how many pages I've read. That was it. Right, okay, characters. I didn't really like Falco, our main character, to be fair. A lot of his stuff was, oh, I've had a lot of like hardship in my past. Fair. Absolutely valid. He was just kind of blind. I don't know, I'm gonna put a 5. He just wasn't my favourite. He was kind of blind, kind of just assuming. Atmosphere, it was dark. I would say that the world was dark. I do think it was clumsily done at times, so I'm gonna leave that as a 5, maybe a 5.5. Okay, writing. So this is my problem, because there were a few chapters here and there that I did enjoy the writing of. But as I said to you, the fight scenes were very formulaic. There were pointless depictions of atrocious torture that was just not needed. I genuinely think I'm just going to put a 4 because I just wasn't impressed. Plotline, very predictable, really wasn't interested. It did nothing different. I was not surprised at any of the twists and turns that it took. All of the twists and turns, like even about the girl that he is protecting and everything that happens around that. Predictable. So predictable. Intrigue, I just wasn't interested in it. Logic, see, this is the thing. Logic wasn't too bad because it took you through mathematically all the probabilities and stuff. At the same time, was it necessary for us to have that? And were some things very convenient? Yes. But I'll give it a 5. And enjoyment, I really didn't enjoy it. Honestly, it should be like a 2, but I'm going to give it a 3 for those couple of chapters. So this one has come out as a 2.5, which I feel really bad, but that also feels right to me. So yeah, so Traitor's Blade came out as a 2.5. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I still think it's potentially Rainy that's chosen these. I'm still going to stick to my original theory. It's just unfortunate it didn't work. So, to final recap this week, we've read One Dark Window, which was a DNF, and Traitor's Blade, which came out as a 2.5 star. And I do think this one was done by Rainy. I could be wrong. Now, one thing I just want to say is some of these books that were chosen for me, I had already read. And so it was, out of these 4, I had to end up choosing these 2 because I had already read the other 2 options and I did like those. So it's just such a shame that it was these 2 that I didn't get on with. It is what it is. That's the end of that. It's really not a positive end. I want to like say other stuff to make it more positive, but it's not. Like it's just not. So let me know, have you read these books? Do you agree with me on any of these? Do you think I've been a little bit unfair in some? You know, let me know in the comments below. We're just gonna leave it there. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have made it this far, then let's put a sword emoji in the comments below. If you've made it this far, you just don't know what you'd like to comment. Sorry, this is not the most positive ending, but thank you so much for watching regardless. I really appreciate it. Like, you all mean the world to me. The fact that you take the time to watch these videos, to comment, it means so much, so thank you. If you have enjoyed this video, then please do consider giving it that thumbs up, subscribe and comment. Those 3 things really help this channel out. My social media links and everyone I've mentioned will be linked below for you, and I will of course catch you in the very next video.